Before I begin, due to the controversial nature of the topic, I would like to preface that as far as NFTs are concerned, I am not an expert on the subject, and this will be pretty much loaded with my assumptions regarding the topic of NFTs as a possibility related to gaming. I also feel I must add that I am very pro-crypto. Much of what I will say is pure speculation, with the goal of gathering opinions from others, be it pro-NFT and gaming or against, not to start a war on the subject, but rather pose theories to gauge where gamers stand on the incoming edition of NFTs in the gaming industry. Love it or hate it, NFTs in gaming are coming. So in what way would that affect gamers? The topic of NFTs and crypto can be extensive, so I need to come at this from the perspective that you understand the basics of how blockchains work, in order to not make this video multiple hours long. I myself am still learning. I feel that NFT technology does have a lot to offer in the future, from an enterprise level to, say, real estate. I just feel that NFTs in gaming will add many undesired outcomes, drastically affecting the core aspect gamers want, and that is fun. Publishers, developers, and, well, scam artists only see the financial aspect. But publishers and developers need to be careful here, as players will abandon ship once NFTs hit a level of being too intrusive. Rather than go on and on, I'll begin by saying that for me personally, I hope NFTs do not become a force in gaming, as my initial gut reactions to it tell me the negatives outweigh the positives. Sadly though, the positives are to the publishers, who make the money, and that's all they're going to care about. So when publishers and executive level developers praise how amazing it will be, all I can think of is it being a cash grab. NFTs in gaming could add way too many complex layers and could do serious damage to the overall health of the gaming industry. And this is where I would like to expand on what are just a few negative side effects that could possibly arise, as well as discuss some misunderstandings gamers may not fully get regarding NFTs in general and ownership of such NFTs. So what could the problem be with combining NFTs and gaming? Is there anything there to provide actual use to gamers? The main argument I hear for NFTs in gaming is regarding ownership of digital goods, but I struggle with the phrasing of ownership. I need to first very briefly touch on what an NFT is, as well as blockchain technology, and I mean very briefly. An NFT stands for non-fungible token and is defined as a non-interchangeable unit of data stored on a blockchain, such as the Ethereum blockchain, for example. Types of NFT data units may be associated with digital files such as photos, videos, and audio, because each token is uniquely identifiable. But soon, we could be adding epic loots, or that sick-ass exotic gun. For those unaware, there is more than one blockchain, and I truly do not see major corporations striking deals with specific blockchains when they themselves can make the money creating their own blockchain. Yes, there have been a few deals closed, and smaller studios without large bank accounts will utilize this path, as game engines such as Unity will allow connectivity to blockchains such as Engine, for example. So to touch briefly on the subject of blockchains, and oh baby, there's more to it than this. In crypto, you have two types of blockchains: centralized blockchain and decentralized blockchains. Many claim decentralized when in reality, they're closer to being centralized if not centralized. Decentralized blockchains, say for example Bitcoin, the global standard on DeFi, it is the premier decentralized crypto asset. But many blockchains are centralized, or possibly becoming centralized. Both have its uses. Decentralized is just the preferred form as it comes to, say, digital money. It is in decentralized where I feel true ownership exists. It comes at what I feel is at a cost. In order for things to be altered on a decentralized blockchain, you need to effectively alter all miners and nodes simultaneously. It's global. It cannot be done. Granted, I never say never, but for where I'm going with this example will suffice. As it stands, altering the rules on a decentralized blockchain requires a lot of work to have 51% of the miners come to a consensus just to add new features. It's a massive undertaking. Centralized crypto means just that. It's centralized. No miners spread out, and as such, no need to seek consensus to alter the rules. Whoever owns the blockchain makes the rules, and now rules can be altered. This makes it useful for traditional businesses, but not ideal as money. So centralization in gaming could be useful as the only way to possibly protect the gamer, but also adds in many new changes that we as gamers may really not enjoy, meaning the cons drastically outweigh the pros. So if NFTs come to gaming, you can bet it will be on a centralized blockchain, if not their own created blockchain similar to that of Facebook's attempt in creating Diem. Now that it is centralized, it further removes the concept of ownership, as the rules can be altered at will. Things reversed. You can be locked out should you say receive a ban or suspended, whatever. Again, not all bad, but not real ownership. If you own it, there should be no possibility of a company or another entity being able to take it from you. Ask anyone who has dealt with a DMCA takedown notice. They will tell you, unless you purchase the copyright, you do not own it. As it is now, that royalty-free music you use is just a license, and the original creator still owns it. Never you. Unless they sell you the actual rights. And just like in video games, the EULA is an agreement and basically says you will play by their rules. After a price has been paid, you effectively get a license for access to that game. In an MMO, for example, games like World of Warcraft or Star Citizen, a game that currently has my attention. Yeah, I'm a glutton for punishment. We are paying for access, but the account we create is owned by the developer or the publisher. So as with art and music, do not confuse any NFT in gaming, such as looting the
Sword of 1,000 Truths,
and seeing it in your account as actually yours. They may let you sell it, but if publishers go the route of making their own blockchains, you can bet your ass there will be a publisher-owned digital asset exchange similar to that of OpenSea. They tried it in Diablo with a cash-based auction house, and it failed hard. The community hated it, and it was killed. And this is where some of that complexity comes into play regarding tainting the gamer experience. But some of you may be thinking to yourself, hey Ronin, in what ways do you think it can be tainted? Well, where there is money to be made, especially in an unregulated market, the unscrupulous tend to trickle in at first, and then the floodgates open over time. Once, let's say, more shady humans see that money can be made, I expect to see a torrent of bots start flooding your gaming experience. Busy farming, say, achievement-based items to be unlocked. I expect to see far more advanced aimbot in, say, your FPS matches, as who cares about bragging rights or a championship if that hyper-rare gun awarded can be resold now for, say, $50,000. Gaming now will officially have a monetary value to be had and approved by the publisher and or the developer. Regardless of how you feel about it, some people are paying, say, $650,000 for a virtual yacht in a game pretty much nobody plays. So imagine an actual active, popular game. Aside from bots, we would also see an even more massive uptick in farmers. Farmers coming in droves to unlock items, account sharing, and a far higher desire for hackers to go crazy on your favorite games. Be it inside the game to unlock things, or brute forcing accounts to send your rare NFTs to them. Again, unless it is on a centralized blockchain, you cannot undo that transaction, which is why it will have no choice but to be on a centralized blockchain. For control. It could at least give some form of safeguard for reversing transactions should this occur. So yes, expect lots of bad people flooding in, tainting your gameplay experience you paid for. Gaming as a hobby now turns more into a get-rich-quick business opportunity. And as the digital gaming assets sell in the marketplace, possibly for millions, is there really any incentive for publishers to stop it? Pending their independence, some developers may wish to, but those who control the majority of the company will have final say. Publishers and developers do often butt heads. I had a stint at a major publisher and watched the battles take place, as the developers cared more about creating the game and the publishers about hitting the deadline to hit that sales date. Spoiler alert, the money always won. But we can make do with this, right? We put up with this already, and I can ignore that extra bullshit. And that, I have no doubt, will be much like advertising on the internet. Once you give them an inch, they take a mile.
We estimate we can sell up to 80% of an individual's visual field before inducing seizures. So picture this.
Well, now those partaking in NFTs, and some who may not be aware their young child is partaking in NFTs, you get to enjoy the annual download of your 1099 tax form from your favorite game makers.
Surprise, motherfucker!
That's right, baby, taxes. And for those of you with young kids, possibly be prepared to take responsibility for their actions should they fail to report those large sales, as they will owe. And thank God it did fail. But one thing to be aware of, because they've tried it once, a certain few politicians, not to make this political, flirted with the idea of taxing unrealized gains. So just think about that. What if they ever tried it again? And then you get to pay taxes simply for holding digital goods that are gaining in value. Good times. So then I start to think to myself, could we now see KYC, also known as Know Your Customer, be required by developers? This is something that's major in the banking industry and pretty much required. You think Microsoft or Google tracked you before? Just wait until they need to abide by federally mandated KYC laws, so prepare to send Microsoft your driver's license. And I only bring up Microsoft because they recently put in a purchase to acquire Activision Blizzard. And last year, Microsoft was awarded a patent to create crypto that can move across blockchains. Add that in with Microsoft speaking about the acquisition to boost their, quote, metaverse and beyond. Yes, you will most likely be seeing Call of Duty and World of Warcraft or Halo have NFTs that now will be using a possible Xbox exchange, in which you will need to purchase whatever crypto asset they create in order to use it. With art or music, that's on you and you alone to enjoy. With many video games, now others are possibly being affected in real time and the overall experience affected. Again, this is all my take on it. As I said in the beginning, it's purely assumptions. This could never come to pass, or it could happen by the end of the year. Who knows? But we are not stupid. It is incoming. Just to what degree, we do not know. While a handful of companies praised NFTs, saying that gamers' fears are overblown, I found myself struggling hard to see any benefit over what we have now. Sure, we have developers selling extra stuff on a game, and I still say, if you can buy it with cash, you should be allowed to purchase it in the game, but that's me. Sure, you have special rare achievements or promos. That's normal in gaming. Just don't gatekeep everything because there's an NFT, especially with that conflict of interest, because the game developer or publisher now also controls that market. Just my 2 satoshis on the matter. Again, this was not just for me to speak on the subject, but also wanting to hear your opinions. Do you agree with me? Did I miss some things? I'm sure I did. Are there any real big pros to NFTs in gaming? And if so, what aspect do you hope to see? As of right now, I am not wanting to see NFTs coming into gaming, and that's where I'll leave it. So with that rant behind me, if you enjoyed the content and would like to see more, please be sure to like and subscribe, as that helps support and grow the channel, and I would greatly appreciate it. So until next time, stay badass. This is Gipsy Ronin, out.
Attention citizens. Security forces have reason to believe members of Goon Squadron have breached corporate city defense protocols. Be aware.